Okay, so one thing we need to know about computers is that computers understand only numbers, where we as people, we are more accustomed with names. So for example, if I visit my fancy website.com and this fancy website is being deployed on a server, on a computer, now you need to know that that particular computer has an IP address, which is basically the fingerprint, let's say, of that particular computer. So how does the computer on which the application is being stored, this IP address, know that I want myfancysite.com? How does it make the match? And this is where the DNS resolver comes into play. Basically, when you visit a domain, this is called domains, myfancysite.com, this browser will go to your internet provider, then it will go to the DNS resolver, and this DNS resolver will have a mapping between your domain and the IP on which the application is being stored. So for example, it will look and it will say, hey, myfancysite.com, it's being stored on this particular IP. And then it will go to the server. It will call this particular IP, and then it will display all the information as we have talked in the previous video using HTTP protocol. So we as people, we are more accustomed to names, and that's why websites don't have this IP address. Now you can replace this domain with the particular IP address, but there are two problems. One, you don't know the IP address. Two, it's not very specific. Let's say you build like a WooCommerce application and you will say, hey, visit my website 192.168.10.1. Nobody will take you serious. So that's why the DNS resolver comes into play. Now we need to understand that behind the scenes, every computer has an IP, but that's not all. The application on which the website is being stored is also having a port number. Now computers have IP addresses and port numbers. Now let me explain the difference between an IP address and a port number, because we will use this in our course. So for example, imagine a city in a particular, let's say Bucharest. The city represents the IP, the unique IP, or a computer, you know. But every city has n number of streets, and that particular street represents the port number. So for example, if you have an application, you can run that specific web server on a particular port. Let's say, as I have here, random street 1. So basically, your application will run on this particular IP with this particular port. And this is the syntax on which you will write. So 192, so the IP address and your port number. And you can't have two applications run on the same port. And we will see this when we will develop Spring Boot web application. So in this video, I want to tell you about this DNS resolver, how it maps your particular IP with your myfancysite.com, and how port numbers work. Now, let me show you something. For example, if I go to Google and type google.com, you will see Google. But let me show you something. I type google.com and 443. This is a port. And you will see I have the same result. Now you can Google what port 443 means, but I just want to show you that google.com behind the scenes is something like a IP, like this, like an IP, I don't know the IP, and a specific port. And if you type this, it will try to find a match. Now let me just write like a strange website like this. And you will see behind the scenes, it looked in the DNS resolver and it tried to find the matching. And because it didn't find the matching, I have this error. So this is about DNS resolver and IP addresses and ports.